This is April.
And this is Tiffany.
And you're listening to the Tea of Life podcast.
We hope that you enjoy listening today as we dive into this week's episode.
But first, let's talk tea. Yes, this weekend I went to a baby shower, and it was a sit-down tea party where we had fancy plates and cups and tea on the warmers and three-tiered plates with scones and pedophores and sandwiches, and it was very dainty, and it made me feel like I was at our local place, Tea Leaves and Thyme.
Yeah.
And it was
Love
that place.
going to that place. That place is so amazing.
It was exactly that, but no hats.
Oh, okay.
And boas
Even
and things.
better.
True that. So yes, it was. It was fancy, and Rylan came with me, and so we got to share that. So I felt very loved by this gal that had set this whole thing up. Very fancy place. So yes. Today's episode, as you already mentioned, is about homeschool. And it's something that I'm in the beginning stages of learning about. But you are a veteran, a well-versed hero. And I would like to know, what prompted you to homeschool your children?
Well, I can tell you that in the beginning, we've been homeschooling now we are currently in our 10th year of homeschooling.
Wow.
And I can tell you that in the beginning, I was not going to homeschool my kids.
So Gabriel is 10.
Gabriel is 15. He's in ninth grade.
You've been homeschooling since the very beginning.
Since the very beginning, since kindergarten, yes. When I was first pregnant with him, I actually had some friends who were in the homeschooling community, and I would hang out with them some. And of course, as soon as they found out that I was pregnant, before you could even tell that I was pregnant, they would ask me, so you're going to homeschool? You're going to homeschool him, right? Or the baby. Wow. Obviously, we didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. And I was panicked, and I was immediately, no, I am not homeschooling, because I had no desire to homeschool. I did not like to teach. I actually hated teaching, to be honest. And I thought, I am not homeschooling my kid. And so, the years passed, and my husband and I actually ended up purchasing our very first home during this time when I was about 8 months pregnant. And soon after that, just outside our subdivision, they started breaking ground for a brand new elementary school. And so I thought, wow, this is perfect, because by the time my son gets into elementary school, by the time he's school age, the school will be established, and it's right outside our subdivision. We can walk there if we want to. And so I was pretty excited about that. So the time came when it was time to sign him up for school in kindergarten. And I couldn't. I just had this, I don't know. I couldn't even describe it. I just could not do it. And I kept thinking, oh, heck no. I am not homeschooling. No. And I just really felt like God was saying homeschool. And he just kept pushing me in that direction. And I kept thinking, no, I can't do this. This is what we've been waiting for. This is going to be great and everything. And so I thought, you know what? Fine. I'll let my husband make the decision. Okay. Now, my husband is not one to just make a decision on a whim. Mm-hmm. He has to know the facts, has to have the research, has to know the history and all that stuff, right? Well, I decided, you know what, God? I'm going to take all the pressure off me.
Right.
I'm going to let see what he says about it. And I really kind of figured that he might not be on board with it. But when I mentioned it to him, he was completely on board with it. So apparently God had also been working on him and his heart at the same time. And neither one of us knew that. So I decided to give in, and reluctantly decided to give in, I should say. But in my heart of hearts, I really knew that I was doing the right thing. I knew that I was following God's prompting. I knew that this was something that I needed to do, whether it was just for kindergarten or long term. I didn't know. I had no idea. But I just knew that I needed to do it. So I started pursuing my friends and asking them, to help me as much as possible. I started finding out about curriculum and going different avenues, which was completely overwhelming and crazy. But thankfully, I did have that core group of friends that I had and established years before that I was able to call upon. So even though I did not think I would be homeschooling, God knew. And so he gave me those friends at the time that I needed them, and so that they would be there when I needed them. And so I began our homeschooling journey. And it was actually kind of fun because once I got into purchasing all the schoolings, the supplies and the curriculum, and I'm flipping through everything and I'm looking at stuff and I'm going, this is going to be so much fun to teach. And of course, God is just like totally overwhelming me with just, with everything that I needed, all the supplies and just different ideas, and just everything was just flooding, and it was just so amazing. So we started our first year, and I figured, this is kindergarten too. So there's not really a whole lot that I could mess up in kindergarten. I didn't think.
Playtime.
Right. And plus, in the state that we live in, kindergarten is actually not even required before you start first grade. So I thought we'll try it for kindergarten and we'll go from there. And then also I will have fulfilled what God called me to do. So then he would say, okay, you did it. Now you can move on and release me. And then I would go ahead and put my son in first grade in the school. Right.
You did your obedience level. You checked
exactly.
it off. Okay.
Exactly. So,
now, before I stop you there. So Brandon's on board, husband's on board. You have this core group of friends who already had been asking you if you're going to homeschool before Gabriel was even born. So what about friends or family members? What about other, were they on board as well?
Some yes and some no. We did have some family members who were completely amazing. They completely supported us and thought that it was like the best thing ever, the best idea ever. And then we did have some family members and some friends who were so on board with it and who thought maybe I was messing up my kids, or that I was making the wrong decision and this isn't the norm, and that I wasn't maybe qualified or capable. And most of the time, like looking back, I see where there's a lot of people who don't really know about homeschooling. Like there's a lot of uneducated people about homeschooling. And so they don't really understand. And because they don't understand, then maybe they don't think it's good, or they don't think it's right because it's not normal, or they don't understand it completely.
They get this picture of somewhere in the backwoods, just schoolhouse and not being socialized, running around savages. Yeah. Okay,
right. Completely. So, so I did have some pushback. And I will have to say though, since we have been doing this for so long, the same people that gave me the pushback are my biggest advocates today. And they are like the ones who are so excited and so proud, and they see how, my kids are normal and they can actually function around people, and they are just so proud of them. And so it's literally completely done a 180 from that. So
that's really great and encouraging. And I know when you're talking about your first years, I just got this picture of you at like Target or whatever that bookstore is that teachers go to, and you get your little pens and your papers and setting up this school in your house. What did that really look like? What did your beginning stages of school journeys, actually typical day, look like?
Well, I can say that in the beginning stages of school looked way different than they look now.
Did you get up at like 7:25?
We did.
Oh,
we did.
Okay.
We did. I wanted to make sure that my kids were getting this proper school that they needed, right? And so, and I think that that's one of the misconceptions that we have, is that we're so ingrained that school can only happen between this hour and this hour. Instead of all day long. And so that's one thing that I really had to learn throughout that my first year was the school happens all day long, not just between this hour and this hour. So when when the first day came, I got him up and got completely dressed.
Oh goodness.
Okay. We had a big breakfast at the breakfast table.
Okay.
Then we had our prayer time.
Okay.
We had our Bible time. We said the Pledge of Allegiance. And then we went into our teaching time. And it was very structured. So what I have learned, though, over the years is that homeschool is not as structured, or probably shouldn't be as structured as we have, been taught to think, because learning happens, like I said, learning happens all day long, not just within a certain hour time frame. And so,
or sitting in a little desk.
Right. And so what I learned a little bit into that was that I was really, instead of homeschooling my child and not putting my child in school, I was actually putting school in my home.
I like that concept, putting school in the home.
And so at that point, I started trying to, form the homeschool around us instead of forming us around our school. Because education really is a lifestyle, and it's a lifestyle that we incorporate into our own lifestyle that benefits, everybody living in the home and everybody living in our community and just in different areas, right? So,
yes.
So we're able to incorporate our day exactly the way that we want to do it. So the beginning of kindergarten looked way different than the end of kindergarten. By the end of kindergarten, we were outside playing with bugs all day long, going on hikes, playing in the river. We would do our experiments outside. We would read outside on the hammock. We would jump on the trampoline and say say our alphabet or whatever we were learning at that time, and counting and how many jumps do we have, and so it was great. It was great. And I can say that by the end of kindergarten, I was completely on board. I was hooked.
Aww.
And I loved teaching. And to this day, I love teaching my kids. But God has totally changed me, because I tell everybody that homeschool is just as much for me as it is my children.
Right.
Because it has changed me so much. In different areas of my life. I love teaching now, and I can actually do it. I can teach other adults, or I can teach other children, or anything. Now, I don't know that I love teaching that I would want to be a teacher, but just in different areas that I feel comfortable and confident in, I love sharing my knowledge with other people. And that's just something that has really kind of evolved and changed, and something that I'm passionate about. I'm able to kind of share a lot better and easier. So I've changed a lot in that way as well.
And one of the questions I was thinking about when you're talking is how curriculum has changed. How did you decide upon that? Did you go to all these conventions? Did you just, camp out?
Well, like I said, over the years, our homeschooling has changed dramatically in the way that we do it. When we first started out, I went and I researched curriculum, and I tried to figure out what it was that we wanted to do. I got with my friends, and a lot of them actually had some curriculum they were able to pass down to me. So
that's helpful.
So at the beginning, I kind of, had a hodgepodge of stuff. And then once I got used to that, I figured out which curriculum I really liked. Then I felt that I would go more toward that particular curriculum. And I found that there was one that I really liked, and so I would try to collect everything from that curriculum, or I'd buy, what we needed for the year for that one. The really cool thing about homeschooling, though, is that you can buy a lot of the stuff used. Just a little side note, you can buy it used. Some things you will have to replace, like workbooks and stuff like that, but you can buy it. There's all kinds of places you can buy used curriculum. So that was just a little side note there.
I'm writing that down.
So we did that from kindergarten to third grade.
Okay.
And then when Gabriel was in third grade, I really felt like God was leading me into a different direction. Not homeschooling, still homeschooling, but just in a totally different direction. And so I just began praying about that. And a friend of mine was actually in the same boat that I was, and she really felt like God was leading her in a different direction. And what was really cool is that what she found and what I found were the exact same things.
Oh, cool.
And we really felt like, God's saying, okay, this is what you need to do right now. And so he actually showed us that like just a whole different perspective on homeschooling. So we changed from the traditional homeschooling where I buy my own curriculum to where we actually are doing an accredited homeschooling program now. The program that we are doing is actually a program that is offered from our state. And so it is state-funded homeschooling program. Now, what's really interesting is that there's not a lot of people who support the state-funded homeschooling program. Really? And so I found out very quickly that when I enrolled my child in this, that some of our traditional homeschooling parents and families were very vocal about how they did not support this and thought it was wrong, and that I was doing the wrong thing. But I just really felt like God was saying, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. Okay, so I enrolled my son, actually both sons at the time, because my younger son was actually starting kindergarten. So I went ahead and enrolled him and now my fourth grader into this state-funded homeschooling program. And the first year was trial and error, I have to say, because it was extremely tough. Really? It was very tough. Not because the program was tough, but because I was basically in rebellion state, because I had done what I wanted to do, when I wanted to do it, and how I wanted to do it. Okay. But then now I am under the, here's your curriculum. This is what you need to learn. This is how you need to learn it and everything. Right. Well, this program that we were doing was still kind of new. So they were still trying to figure out the kinks and change things and figure stuff out on their end as well. So it was a bit of a disaster, I guess, on my side and their side. But it worked, for the year. But then after the first year, I thought, I'm not doing this. Okay, so again, I was, okay, God, I did what you wanted me to do. Now I'm going back to do the way that I want to do it, because I checked the box of following you. I did what you wanted me to do. Now, we need to do what I want to do. So when it came time to re-enroll my children into this program, I said no. And I said I wasn't going to do it. And so this was about in May. Well, then we had until June 29th. And I remember that because that was my parents' wedding anniversary. And that was on a Friday. So June 29th, we had until the cutoff to where we couldn't, to re-enroll. So we had till June 29th to say, yes, we're going to re-enroll. And after June 29th, then we would be off the books. And then all the people who are waiting in line to get in here, the wait list would be selected from. Okay. So June 29th came and I was like, nope, I am done. I am so done with this. I am not doing this anymore. Well, that Saturday and then Sunday morning came and I was just a basket case and I couldn't figure out why. I was just that morning could not pull it together. So my kids and I and my husband were at church, and in the middle of worship, I was literally so emotional that I literally had to leave service and walk outside. And during that time, it was when I felt God tell me that I had made a mistake, that I needed to keep them in this program. Well, 2 days before was the complete cutoff for enrollment. So I literally called. Now on this program, they actually have what they call quote unquote homeroom teachers. Okay. So I literally called her cell phone. I said, and I am crying, and I'm sure she's probably in the middle of worship service as well at church.
You called her on a Sunday.
I called her on a Sunday as I walked out onto the lawn at church. I called her, left a message, and I am crying. And I said, I have made a mistake. I really don't need to unenroll my children. I really feel like I need to keep them in this program. And tell me what I need to do. 3:00 that afternoon, she called me back because she had gotten my message, which was awesome.
Yes.
So she called me back and she said, okay, this is what you need to do. And so I followed her directions. The next morning I had to call and everything. Okay. So anyway, needless to say, they were not unenrolled. Okay. They got to stay in the program. I made it just in time.
Spoiler alert.
Right. So we stayed in the program, and our 5th grade year was absolutely amazing. It was so great. It was like God was just like, okay, so here's the redemption. Like here we're gonna fix everything that went wrong last year and just give you a little bit of a break. And it was an amazing year. So then we went to 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and now we have a 9th grade. He's in high school now in the same program. And I have just seen where he has completely transformed to things that I do not think that I could have done on my own had I stayed doing the curriculum that I was doing previously. There is no way that I could have ever gotten him to where he is right now. He is doing amazing. He is completely on his own. He's in 9th grade. He is, I just have to check up to make sure that he's not missing anything. He's completely independent in all his studies and his work and everything is learning, and he loves it. He loves it.
He's thriving.
Right.
You know, I've seen him come out
and
of
I
the
have
shell.
a 5th grader too now who has been in this program from kindergarten to 5th grade, and he loves it. And he gets to attend, both of them get to attend live classes every day taught by a teacher. And then if they miss that class, there's actually recordings that they can go and watch the class.
That's a good deal.
Or if there's something that they're struggling in, they can watch the class over and over and over again as many times as they need to. But then there's also online work that they do, and they absolutely love it. And my 5th grader is like pretty much independent himself. I mean, he's not there. He's in 5th grade. He's 11. But he is more independent with his studies than I have seen in other kids. And I don't have to and I don't have to keep on him, and he knows what he has to do, and he gets up, they have their breakfast, they go straight to class. I don't even have to tell them, go to school, go to your class. We have a homeschool room that we've set up just for homeschooling, and they have their little cubicles, and they have their headphones so they can each do their classes at the same time and not interrupt each other. So it's really cool. But it really has been an amazing program. And I know that I've heard a lot of people, talk bad about this program. And it really breaks my heart because I feel like they just need to give it a chance. And I don't feel like it's the government trying to get into our home and manipulate our homeschooling. I don't feel like it's that at all. I feel like they're like, you know what? This is a great thing, and I want to be on board. Homeschool. When I go to the state capitol, which we did a few weeks ago, we have homeschooling advocates there who are our state representatives who were homeschooled themselves, and some that homeschool their own children, and they are advocating for homeschoolers. And so I feel like this is just our state saying, hey, you know what? I see that homeschooling is a great thing, and I want to help you with that. And I want to be on board with that. And I want to help give you some of the materials that you need in order to do that. And there have been times where our kids have gotten, the curriculum. I hear that I think the biggest thing that I hear people say to me is, well, it's not a Christian curriculum. Well, it's secular curriculum. Well, you know what? It doesn't scare me. Secular curriculum does not scare me at all, because our kids, need to learn. They need to learn about evolution. They need to learn about these different things that they, that they teach, and they need to learn to be able to figure out what they believe, and have our church is big with our kids saying they just want to allow them to have a faith of their own. Well, that is one thing that I feel like I'm giving my kids by allowing them to have the exposure, and they get to learn and figure out what they believe and have a faith of their own, instead of me being able to control. You can't hear that. You can't see that. You can't watch that. You can't. Now, I mean, we do have boundaries with those things. But when it comes to, learning about evolution and different things, that doesn't scare me at all.
Right. And it shouldn't, like you were saying, be exposed to that so you know how to answer your other friends or the kids that they come into contact with that have been taught that and think that's their truth. So you got to know, hey, this is what I learned about evolution and how it lines up to the Bible. And they can have an intelligent conversation with,
And
educated children.
a really cool thing, though, with our teachers is whenever they have an evolution talk, or they have, actually, my 9th grader, he had like the sex education talk, curriculum or chapter, unit or whatever this year. And so they will actually send us out an email and say, hey, this is what's coming up.
Okay, that's
if you
very
feel
good.
like if you're okay with your kid going through this unit, great. If not, here are some alternative things that you can do so that you don't have to go through this. This is a state-funded curriculum, and they still do that.
Right.
Like, they are
great.
sensitive to what we may, as parents, want to teach our kids or not teach our kids.
Right.
And so they'll send us those emails and say, this is what's coming up. If you want to do this unit, great. If not, here are some alternatives. Or let us know what you're teaching.
Right.
And then we can make sure that they get credited for that.
Right.
So I just think that is just, that's amazing. That's really cool.
That is.
And that speaks highly of our state. I feel like that speaks highly of the people who are in charge of this and who run this for our state. And I just think that that's just a great thing.
Right. They're having parents, sounds like they want parents to be involved and they respect the parents' views or where their backgrounds come from. So I can appreciate that. Go
so
ahead.
I feel like, sorry, just one more thing on that. But I can say that, like, with the curriculum that I did before, it was really weird. Like, we would do math, and then all of a sudden in the middle of math, they would stop and say, okay, now learn John 3:16, for God so loved the world. And and so, and so we have that break in math to learn. And I really struggled with that. I really had a hard time piecing that together. So I was just really praying about that. And I just felt like God was saying, you know what, Tiffany? Just let math be math. Just let math be math.
I like that. I'm also going to.
Because I struggled with the fact that we didn't have, even though I struggled with having the scripture, when we didn't have the scripture, I struggled with not having the scripture.
Right,
So I felt like God said,
guilty.
just let math be math. And that was just such a huge burden that I was just like, you're right. You know what? You're right.
Right. I like that. There's freedom in that. Yes, we know God is in everything, but it's also that He can breathe. You can just add an equation or do an equation, and yes, God is there, but you don't have to just say 1 + 1 is 2, and Jesus loves you.
Right.
So I like. But,
right.
Well, I was thinking a minute. You were talking about your moment of drift when you thought maybe you would not do your the state funded. Remember you said, okay, June 29th came and went, and I didn't want to do that. And then the whole, like, I want to come back. When you decide to, re-enroll and you're feeling like God's redemption, I was thinking it was beautiful to see that it wasn't like you were saying to God, you had two choices to make. One was totally off the wall, totally down a wrong path. And the other one it wasn't a right or wrong choice. It was a choice that you made. You're trying to see what best fit for your child. And then you made that choice to end that program for a minute, and then thought, you know what, I do really want this. And so there was grace that God covered your back. He got you back on track. So it wasn't like, so when we want to go forward in our steps, and we, is this the right thing to do? Well, you took a step acting out, okay, I think this, maybe I should end this. And then God's like, well, I was not really wanting to end it. So He brought you back. That was great. It's like redemption, like you were saying. There's always a way to get back. And I know that this is a timely episode. You probably have more to say, but I'm writing these notes down because I have one more thing. So it's a season for looking at what to do next year, because even though we're in March and school ends in a few months, people are going to be thinking, what should I do? Should I stay in the public school? Should I go to a private school? Should I go Christian school? Should I homeschool? I mean, most people I know from my school are thinking about that, what to do next year. And so this is a very timely episode. There's a lot of choices out there, and I think that parents just need to be educated and aware.
Yeah, and I also want to reiterate that if you school at home, you homeschool. Okay. There is no, oh, this is homeschool curriculum. This is not homeschool curriculum. If you're at home, you're at home. Okay.
Right.
That's just how I view it. And I also view that with the curriculum that we do is an accredited curriculum. They give us what we need. Okay. Right. They keep up with our test scores. They keep up with all of our transcripts and everything. Right. Well, even if we did some of these other, curriculums that we had to purchase so that we were homeschooled, well, it's kind of the same thing. Like you get the book that has the calendar, do this today, do this today, do this today. And then you can also purchase the accredited version of that. And they're still telling you what to do. They're still sending you your curriculum. They're still, keeping your test scores. They're still holding onto your transcripts. It's really no different. It's the same. Whether you homeschool with a bought curriculum or you homeschool with a state funded curriculum, it's no different.
Right. That makes sense. So I have a last question, and if you have more to share, that'd be also awesome. But how do you feel it has helped your family? Homeschooling, that is. How do you feel it has shaped or helped your family?
I can tell you that I have, my boys are 4 years apart. One is 15 and one is 11 right now as of this recording. And they are and have been their entire life best friends.
Oh,
they literally, they love being together. They can be separated and be totally fine, and they can be together and be totally fine. And that is so huge, because I just,
priceless.
They're not constantly out and hearing other kids, oh, you don't want to play with him because he's stupid. He's young, or, he's a younger brother or whatever. Like my older son never got that. And so they just grew up loving each other. And it's absolutely amazing. And I can tell you that they are confident when they're around adults, because they're always around adults or younger kids or kids their age. And so they're able to talk to anybody at any time. I mean, and there's no, difference between older kids, younger kids, adults. They're completely confident and okay with talking to anyone at any time. As far as our family goes, we still make our own schedule, and we are a family. We are night owls, and we typically don't go to bed until midnight. I think last night it may have been 1:00 because we accidentally found Spider-Man on HBO. So we all sat and watched Spider-Man together at midnight. I mean, that's just, and the thing is my husband works a lot. And so, and he has weird hours sometimes. He works for a church, so he has weird hours sometimes. And if we were on a schedule to where my kids had to be in bed, at 8:30 or whatever at night, and then had to get up early and go to school, they would never see their dad.
Yeah.
And so I really feel like we fit school around our schedule and around our lifestyle, because family does come first. And so then we're able to stay up later, maybe sleep a little bit later, and we're able to, to incorporate family time when my husband is available.
That's great. I like that. And I was thinking my own takeaways from the meeting that I went to today, to another school that does parts here. You go a couple days and you're home a couple days, and just the takeaway is in society today, the missing component is family time. And that's what they want to do, is bring back family time. So I love it.
That's great. Yes, for sure.
For sure. So this has been great. I'm sure there's going to be another part 2 of this podcast, because yes, there's so much to still learn and to know. And homeschooling is not that I'm going to say the word trendy, but not that way. Meaning it seems like people are really focusing on the family. They want to focus back on, or parents want to take back control of what their kids are taught. And so I say that homeschooling is on the rise in a good way.
Absolutely.
I think.
Absolutely. I mean, there are, I think, 60,000 homeschooled kids just in our state alone. Yeah. And that doesn't include the kids who are actually in the curriculum that we do.
Okay.
So, yeah. So it's, and I mean, last summer, I believe, with the curriculum, the statewide curriculum that we do, there was a waiting list of like 10,000 kids who were on a waiting list just to get in to this particular program. So it is definitely on the rise. Definitely.
That's it for today. Tune in next time as we continue to dive into life.
In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. You can find us at teaoflifepodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter at teaoflifecast, or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/teaoflifepodcast.
Until next time, in the words of Monty Python,
Make tea, not war.